All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Friday. It's around 4, little after 4 p.m. Pacific. It's time for Pathfinder Friday. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into Kingmaker. Now, you might have seen the announcement that we made yesterday, where we're going to be starting a crowdfund, and that comes up in a couple days, actually. So we thought it might be fun to kind of go back into the old Wayback Machine and talk about Kingmaker, talk about the history, the lore, and all of that kind of thing. And to do that as full and complete as possible, we need James Jacobs in the house here. James, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really quick before we get started, I want to say happy birthday, Brendan Night Trace in the chat. Happy birthday today, buddy. I hope it's going to be a good one. Hey,
don't gorge too much on cake.
Or do.
Yeah.
You never know.
Eat it all at once.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So we at the end of last week's episode, we talked about maybe doing Kingmaker because we knew that there was an announcement coming, but we hadn't said anything yet, so we didn't want to expand on it too much. So we're going to be talking about Kingmaker. Where do we want to start? We want to kind of give an overall idea.
So Kingmaker's one of our adventure paths. It's the second one we did for Pathfinder First Edition.
Okay.
And it was one that by the time we got to Kingmaker, it was like we did what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was our 6th adventure path after the Dungeon Magazine ones. And so by this point, we were pretty, into the flow of things. It was myself and Wes Schneider were the ones that were really running the show on the adventure paths, with James Sutter helping out with like a lot of the back end stuff, with the fiction and stuff like that. And so Wes and I sat down and we're like, what kind of adventure do we want to do? We want to do an adventure. We'd already had a lot of feedback from customers and readers who were asking. There was this basically thing going around. It's like adventure paths are too straightforward. They're on railroads. We want a sandbox. We don't want to know. We don't want to have to deal with a big bad end guy. We want to be able to do what we want and all that. So we're like, okay, well, let's do that. Let's do a sandbox adventure path where there is not a specific individual that you're fighting against all the way through to the end, which is what we did with Curse of the Crimson Throne, and what we did with Second Darkness, is what we did with Rise of the... Every adventure path up until then, there was a specific foe that you were up against. And we didn't want to do that with Kingmaker because we were told, by the readers, they wanted something different. And so Wes and I sat down and we're like, let's figure out how we wanted to do like a hex crawl type element, like exploring a wilderness area. And we wanted also to do something new with it. And the idea of like, let's have something where it's like, go back to like just exploring a wilderness region and claiming that wilderness land as your own, basically making yourself a kingdom or a nation that you can then rule. And at that point, we didn't really have any rules for like what happens, like how you rule it. And we wanted the kingdom itself to be a character sheet, basically. So the party would have all of their individual characters, and then the entire group at the table would have their own kingdom character sheet, basically. And so we started getting into that, building like cities and stuff like that, and a lot of it was really inspired by games like Civilization, Sim City, stuff like that, where it's games where you're building empires, building things, and all of this stuff, and having little events happen along the way. So it's kind of interesting that 9-10 years after that, we actually have a Kingmaker video game of a tabletop game that was inspired by video games. So it's kind of like the cycle of life, the Ouroboros of gaming.
Right.
So yeah, that's basically Kingmaker. We also, at that point, were like, we wanted to, we were always looking for like ways to bring in other people into helping out with us. Like we brought in Wolf Bauer to do a lot of the storylines on the these mythologies behind Legacy of Fire, for example. With Kingmaker, we brought in Ed Greenwood. So we basically approached him as like, hey, Ed, you know a little bit about making worlds and stuff like that. Well, a little bit like the Forgotten Realm, people may have heard of that. And we initially said, hey, do you want to pitch us an adventure path? And he's a fun guy. He came back with a super sprawling storyline about just crazy stuff. And it was obviously that he took our request to build an adventure path as build an entire world. And it's like, well, we can't really use all of this stuff. These monsters are great. We can pull these monsters out and use them in the bestiary. The start of it with the Stag Lord and all of this, like this guy that's got this crazy helmet and all of that is from Ed. So it was really interesting working with him on building out the plot line of that. But then Wes and I took those initial seeds and basically built it into this entire sprawling, mess of an adventure path where you can basically go wherever you want. If you go left, you fight a kobold and a giant tick. If you go right, you fight a dragon riding a storm giant, or vice versa, or whatever. Storm giants all the way down. So that's the thing. The thing about like a sandbox is it's really, if you get in over your head, it's your fault for not reading the signs.
Right, running too far into the wilderness.
Yeah,
not having your tether.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact, because we've done it right here on this very channel, that you've played the CRPG, the Owlcat Games Kingmaker.
Yeah, it's a sprawling, ginormous game.
It really is.
I'm almost done with it. I'm not quite done with it yet.
Really?
Yeah. So my character's up to I think 17th level. I'm in the final section of the game, and it's super hard. And
yeah.
I have no shame in saying that I turned it all the way. Oh, not quite all the way down. But I'm not playing on the hard mode.
Well, it's more for adventure at this point.
That's right.
How do you feel like the conversion was from the pages of the RPG?
I thought it was amazing. I think Owlcat did such a just outstanding job in like capturing not only the themes of Kingmaker, but finding stuff that we didn't really have in there in the first place. And one of those things that they picked up on was this nature of curses. There's so many curses in the tabletop game that we never really went into it. And they really doubled down and turned that into an ongoing theme throughout the entire storyline. Another thing they did too, it's interesting. One of the big criticisms we've had about Kingmaker is people felt it was unsatisfying that there was not a central villain. So
okay, right.
Before we did it, people didn't want the central villain. After we did it, people wanted the central villain. And so it's kind of a case of like, sometimes people don't absolutely know what they want. They think they know, but they don't. So it's a give and take thing. But they added in a lot more elements with the main character, Nerissa, and the main villain, and having her basically play a role throughout the entire thing. So that's something that I think that really improves the storyline quite a lot. Right. We had some of that stuff in there in the tabletop version, but it was super, super subtle. And it was really easy if we didn't say in print, hey, Game Master, you need to double down and make sure this happens because it foreshadows something happening here and all that.
Right.
So,
really quick, I want to say, Corey Marie, thank you so much for gifting all those subs. Welcome to the party, new people.
Yay!
Thoristel, thank you so much for gifting all those subs. Welcome to the party, new people. Chemlack, welcome, you made it, thank God.
Yay!
All right, we're good. I'm going to get back to talking now. When it comes to going back into the pages now, the pen and paper RPG, or as I call it, pencil and paper RPG.
Who uses a pen in RPGs?
I never use a pen. It's always a pencil.
Yeah, because you want to be able to like make changes.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
An erasable pen does not work.
Erasable pen's a lie.
It is a lie.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about if we could do a good overview of the story of Kingmaker.
Okay.
Let's jump
before
into
that,
some of that.
let's that first picture I think is again one we've shown it before.
Yeah, I love this image. It's such a good one.
It's Mauricio showing everybody how to build a house.
She's taking control.
Yeah, she's in charge. She's like basically saying, put that wood thing over by that other wood thing and bring me a mint julep.
Oh yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. So that's the opening we had for like the rules for building your kingdom. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to have a little fun with it. It's like, let's have our iconics, show what it's like for them building. Their personalities are in there and all that. So it's pretty fun. I think the next picture we have is Nerissa, who is the main villain of the piece.
Right.
I love what the artist came up with here.
Such a good piece. It's so nice. Like, it's colorful.
Yeah, it's colorful. It's the thing is the main one of the things we wanted to do with this one is we wanted to have like this fairy element going on throughout the time of the whole thing. This is where we introduced the first world, which is this realm of the fairies and fae. And the idea of like we wanted our villain to be somebody. Normally, a nymph is a good creature. She's like out in the woods, being all nature and like she's so beautiful. If you look at her, you die. But that's not her fault.
Right.
She's actually not a bad person. But Nerissa is a messed up evil nymph.
I think that the best part about this piece of art that I think is just amazing is that inherently it's got the colors and the look of a friendly
creature,
forest creature, but you look at that face and you look a little close.
There. Well, that's one of the things I really like, because up till this point, even in our own products, we'd always illustrated nymphs as like they're just naked ladies, they're naked elves, and that's kind of amateur. That's kind of amateur and immature.
Yeah.
But with Nerissa, having her like look almost sort of alien with this plant-like motif makes her look so much more interesting, and she's still a beautiful looking character, but she's also super. She's not like the type of person that you're gonna like misunderstand as being not in charge.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's a mean mug right there that you're looking at. Okay.
Like some people get piercings, she just grows them out of her chin.
See, now that's a talent.
Yeah.
Like I decide that I want to look pierced up today, and then you just have all of these.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, you mentioned the story of Kingmaker.
Yes, I did.
And there, even though it is a sandbox, there's still this progression of like you start out with these first level characters who are basically told go south, conquer these lands, settle them, make a settlement, make a city, grow up, make a nation, defend it from the bad guys. Become kings and queens, basically. And so we started out. Let's come up with this storyline to basically.
I love this.
So we started out. I don't know why Wes and I decided we were going to go with an owlbear as the mascot for the thing, but that basically stuck all the way through.
And it works.
Yeah. So this is from.
Wait, you know what's weird? Hang on a second.
Okay.
So the owlbear is the mascot that's going to be the theme.
All right.
And then Owlcat made the CRPG.
Yeah. Because they picked up on that. They picked up on the fact that owlbears are so key to the entire storyline. And the second event, slight spoiler, the second adventure culminates with this giant owlbear doing the Godzilla thing on your town.
That is true.
Which is something, one of the earliest, when we're coming up with the plotting for adventures, we'll basically say like, we want this to happen and this to happen and this to happen. We knew we wanted a nymph to be the main villain. We knew we wanted there to be some sort of giant war that happens with another nation. And we knew we wanted this scene with the giant owlbear eating your town.
Of course. And that is the kind of event that you start backwards from.
Yeah.
Like you're like, that's where we're going to end up.
Yep, exactly. So anyway, so owlbears. We knew we wanted to do something with owlbears. So this is from the first adventure. It's like this is before the player characters get to the region, the Stolen Lands, is this wilderness region they're about to take over. And the owlbears is like, I could really go for some honey and some mice. I could mouse honey, I guess is what owlbears eat.
Mouse, yes,
mouse
exactly.
honey.
Yes.
And so he's like, maybe there's something in this tree. And so that's before the player characters go.
Yeah.
Now
it's a simpler time.
I like it. The owlbear just lives in the woods, doing what he does, and then the player characters come along.
Right.
And they're like, we're gonna build a house here. Let's chop the forest down. Oh, there's an owlbear. That's worth 420 experience points. Shoot it dead.
That is so sad. The way you put this, the narrative that you've built here.
So the owlbear, I don't think we ever gave him a name, because if you name something, then it's sad when it dies. And we knew this guy was dying in the second volume.
Right.
So we never gave him a name. He's the owlbear, but he's dead. All of his trees are chopped down. The player character's like, we're going to build a city here. Let's raise the lands.
Yeah.
So that's part 2.
Okay.
Part 3 comes along, and the player character's like, now we've got our house. We got our entire town. Let's build a statue of the owlbear, because we killed him, and he's like a memory of what happened before.
I mean, at this point, though, that's just being mean. Like, sort of, we killed these things. Let's.
I like to think that like they took his skeleton and just put pottery and like clay around him and just molded it up into like, he lives on, because so we've got this owlbear statue in the middle of town. It's like that's the town's mascot. We killed this thing here, and he's still here, but we're in charge because look at our houses and all that. Now, player characters are living. This is part 3. Part 4 comes along, and things start going bad. And that's when like the raiders, like the people from Pitax, come along, and they like attack your town, and they burn it down, and they're like, oh no! And of course, what they're going to do is they're going to knock your statue down. It's like they put a giant statue of an owlbear in the middle of their town square. Obviously, it's important to them. Let's wreck it.
Yeah, exactly. And
because that's what jerks like marauders and bandits will do.
Right, for no apparent reason.
Oh no, there's a reason. Because it's mean.
Because it is, besides being mean.
Yeah.
But also, when it comes into with Kingmaker. Having the owlbear is like that central character, I guess. That stand-in. When it came time to decide what that was, what was the most influencing factor to say, well, it's got to be an owlbear? Like,
I don't remember. I was just like, to a certain extent, it's like we wanted it to be something. We didn't want it to be a bear. We didn't want it to be like a dragon. We wanted it to be something that was obviously from the tradition of role-playing games. And owlbears are pretty close. I mean, one of the things I kind of joke about a little bit is the idea of a deadline monster. And that's like when you're like, we've got a monster book, it's got 300 monsters in it, and we've got 299, and we got to do something for that 300th monster, but we're out of ideas. We got a deadline to hit. We need a monster. How about a tiger? No. How about a pig? No, not a pig, a tiger. A tiger pig. So then
pig.
Tiger Pig is this deadline monster that gets another thing.
I like
now, that said,
that's awesome.
owlbears are awesome.
Oh, owlbears are amazing.
So I'm not saying deadline monsters are bad.
Right.
Sometimes they're awesome, like this owlbear. But usually a deadline monster is like a tiger pig. Now I'm going to assume that we're going to have a call to arms to have tiger pigs, and there's going to probably be a tiger pig showing up or something like that. That's how they're like insidious.
There absolutely will be a tiger pig. I guarantee you.
Yeah. Maybe
right.
pig tiger.
So
anyway,
now we're at the point where the raiders are raiding.
The raiders have raided.
Yes.
They've burned your place down, and you or the player characters have basically their kingdom is over.
Yes. Done.
So as a result, you've got this ruined wasteland, and you can see there in the middle, there's the owlbear statue in shards and flinders just all over the ground. There's wolves have moved in, and this sort of the cycle is like, at one point there was like a forest. You come in, you raise it, you build your town, and now other people come in and raise your town, and it's kind of being reclaimed by nature. And the idea is that the wolves are coming in, this owlbear is there, and then finally, nature's back. There's trees, there's vegetation, life is finding a way, and a brand new owlbear is strundled along through the woods. I'm looking for some mouse honey. What's this? Oh my God! So he sees this dead owlbear statue, on the ground. And he's like, this would make a good nest. And the idea is then another group of player characters comes along, kills this owlbear, raises land, and it's this perpetual cycle.
It's the circle of life.
The circle of Yeah. Oh, look at you. Look at you, like demonetized.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Because I sing that well.
Yeah.
It just gets demonetized every time. I'm sorry. So let's talk
You're like
about
an intellectual property vampire.
I know. Just stealing everybody's IP.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the challenges when it came to putting this, because the system did not, the kingdom building did not exist before Kingmaker. Like that was created just for that.
Right.
What sort of testing and issues did you?
I should have. I mean, I originally took pictures of like some of Wes and I sat down and started building up like mock-ups and maps and stuff like that, and they just weren't really translating well because they were pretty big and they wouldn't show up in like this format. But we basically sat down and started building up like this grid of a city, and the idea was like you'd have little buildings that you could put down in your city, and which ones went where would influence what your city's stats were. We came up with the idea of like every player character has like a fortitude save, a reflex save, and a will save. So we're like, well, your city should have 3 things as well. So like loyalty, stability, and these other sort of things that would match to. They would have different words, but they would kind of work the same way. And we just started building up from there, and having the city grow more powerful. And we did a lot of playtesting of it, just sitting down and running cities through, a year, 2 years, 3 years of growth to see where things were at. Brought in a bunch of other editors and developers and designers to help with it, and really just kind of played through it multiple times. The very first version of it was hard to understand. It was clunky. It was weird, and
so how
and then when we got to Ultimate Campaign later on down the road, we rebuilt it from the ground up and expanded it further. And so it's a case of like it's a constant evolution of how to present this sort of idea. And it's something that we came back again and again and again. Like we did a variant of it with the Caravan rules, which wasn't as successful. We did something with in Hell's Rebels with Rebellions that I think worked really well.
Yeah. I think War for the Crown had the
War for the Crown. Yep. So it's something that we've really always wanted to include in the game, because it's part of the story of like, building. You look at something like Game of Thrones, it's the same sort of thing where you're building empires and fighting wars and all that type of stuff.
Right.
But at the same point, the game itself is focused on your characters. It's not something that's like building the entire world. It's the story of your characters. So it needed to be done in a way that didn't remove your characters from play. And that's why we came up with the roles for like counselors. And like one of the players is going to be the queen or the king. There's got to be like a diplomat and a high priest and an archwizard and all these other roles that can help shape your city's fortunes, basically. And so, yeah, I was basically just get all of those things together. And then we had a lot of like just initial stuff set up and then started hiring freelancers basically to write it. And I was originally going to write the first volume of this adventure path because I had it all in my head how it was going to work out. And it turns out, that's a lot of work. And I wasn't able to do that. So we hired Tim Hitchcock to basically say, hey, Tim, can you, here's 10 encounters. Can you just detail the heck out of them? So Tim would like build the Stag Lord's Fort and the old Sycamore where the kobolds and the mites are fighting and all these different locations. And then he turned that in. And then what I did is I basically wrote all of the stuff that was around it to basically stitch it together. And by that point, we were basically up and running. We had a format for that first adventure. I was able to go to the next author, Rob McCreary, and basically say, here's what we did here, do more of that, and then just kind of built on it from there. So it was sort of an organic process a little bit, but
in the end, when it all comes together, what was the one thing that you put in that surprised you the most, where it's like, wow, this actually worked better than we thought it was going to?
I think my favorite element was in the last one, where we knew Rich Pet is this force of nature when it comes to just like weird wahoo craziness. And so I knew the last one was like, we want to go into the first world where everything is just like Grimm's fairy tales turned up to the proverbial 11.
Right.
And so it's like, hey, Rich, let's do this. And Rich made this just crazy adventure that I had to redraw some maps and just like go in there or get up into my elbows and sort out what he was like doing. And somewhere between what he wrote and what I wrote for it, we came up with this whole storyline, like this picture book of Zudiger's Picnic. And the idea that there's like this storybook about a guy that went out in the woods to, eat have a picnic, and this crow flies down and steals his spoon, I think it was, and flies off into the woods. He's like, give my spoon back, and he chases this crow through all of these weird encounters with like giant birds and four-armed giants and giant worms and all sorts of stuff, and he finally gets to the very end, and there's like this evil queen that's like, I will give you this bird back if you do this and that, and he finally gets the bird back and cooks the bird. And it was the best picnic ever. And I kind of came up with this whole storyline of it, and I was just delighted with it because it was sort of this weird sort of fairy tale type thing, and it really worked well with the first world being so fairy tale inspired.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think delighted me the most is how many people started, just out there fans took that storyline and like made picture books out of it. So if you like look online, there's several different iterations of people illustrating their own versions of Zudiger's Picnic. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool when it takes off that much.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do this. We're coming up on the end of the first half hour. Fast,
yeah.
I know. Sorry. Do you have anything else you want to get out there?
There's not much to say at this point about the upcoming new edition that we're doing for second edition Pathfinder. Again, it's crowdfunding. We're going to have a lot more details about what the various tiers and all of that stuff on, I think, Tuesday? Yeah. So check that out.
It'll be Tuesday the 7th.
Yeah. And we'll have more information about it there. The baseline is already something pretty ambitious, and if it gets, there's a lot of stuff that we're bringing in, stuff from the video game into this. There's brand new content. It's going to be pretty wild. Yeah. And for more information, Paizo.com. There's a blog that kind of gives a good kind of intro to that whole thing, and then we'll know more on Tuesday the 7th. It's actually pretty exciting. So, which was another reason why we wanted to cover this. So, let's see. So, let's do this. I'm going to do a goodbye. All right. And then we'll do some Q&A with all the folks in the chat, and then we'll go from there. Yep. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have had a wonderful time. I hope you learned a lot about Kingmaker, and I thought it was a lot of fun to hear kind of the background stories of how everything came about. I just want to let you guys know that this is actually my last show as Pathfinder Friday host. I will be here once a week on Thursdays to produce Oblivion Oath. I'll be behind the scenes chatting with everybody. But in the short term, they're working on some plans to fill the gaps so that we still have some shows coming on Wednesdays and Fridays. But
for the most part, I'm gone. I won't be here anymore. I want to say thank you so much. When we started building this thing, putting the studio together, getting everything going, it would not have happened without all of you folks out there helping to support and bring this community together. It's a great community. I've had so much fun putting this thing together with everybody, and the shows have been a blast, especially getting to know all of you out there. And so for the last time, for Paizo, and for James Jacobs, and for me, as always, I'm your old buddy Dan. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again. Bye. Bye. For Paizo and for James and for me, for the last time, I'm your old buddy Dan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye, Dan!
Oh, bye.
I think I just broke your mic.
That's okay.